The soft morning light spilled through the curtains, casting a golden glow across Laura's quiet living room. For the first time in years, her chest felt lighter, as if the weight she'd carried since Michael's passing had loosened just enough to breathe. The leather notebook rested on the coffee table, its familiar worn edges a silent invitation. She had glimpsed it last night, hovering between anticipation and fear, unable to decide if she was ready to face what lay within. From the kitchen came the gentle clatter of plates and the warm aroma of something cooking. Pancakes. Her heart skipped, and a faint smile tugged at her lips. Memories surfaced, Michael flipping pancakes with that easy hum, Ryan giggling at the table, Laura wrapped in the comfort of small domestic joys. For a moment, the ache of absence softened, replaced by the tender warmth of remembrance. A sudden knock at the door broke the stillness. Laura froze, heart pounding. Who could it be at this hour? It was past 9, late for anyone except a neighbor in need. Yet the night seemed unusually quiet, almost expectant. She hesitated, the sound echoing through the empty hallway, mingling with the faint patter of rain outside. Another knock, firmer this time, nudged her forward. With a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, she smoothed her robe and approached the door. Peeking through the side window, her eyes widened. Ryan stood there, soaked from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, and that familiar, tentative smile she hadn't seen in months. Next to him, under a large umbrella, stood a young woman. Her features were soft, natural, approachable, yet something about her made Laura pause. There was a quiet strength in her posture, an unspoken kindness in the way she looked at Ryan. Laura's heart fluttered, a mixture of surprise, joy, and the nervous tension of the unknown. She opened the door carefully. "Ryan, oh my goodness. What are you doing here? You didn't tell me you were coming." His tired, warm grin only made her chest tighten. "Hey, Mom," he said softly. "Sorry for showing up unannounced. Can we come in?" "Of course," Laura replied, stepping aside. "You're drenched." They hurried inside, dripping rain onto the mat, their laughter mingling with the gentle hum of the storm outside. Laura glanced at the young woman again. "And you are?" The girl gave a small, nervous smile. "I'm Sophie. It's really nice to meet you, Mrs. Whitman." Laura's lips curved into a polite smile. "Please call me Laura. It's lovely to meet you." "Too." There was something in the way Sophie said her name. Careful. Respectful, yet almost intimate, as if she already understood the person she was addressing. The small detail sent a subtle spark of curiosity through Laura. "Let me get you both some towels," she said quickly, disappearing into the hallway. Her heart raced, part excitement, part unease. Ryan didn't often bring visitors home, especially not without warning. When she returned, towels in hand, she motioned toward the kitchen. "I'll make some tea. It's freezing out there." The girl nodded, glancing at Ryan occasionally, quiet but attentive. Steam began to rise from the kettle, curling into the warm kitchen air. Laura set cups on the table, her hands trembling just slightly, and turned toward them. "So Ryan, are you going to introduce me properly?" Ryan exchanged a glance with Sophie before speaking. "Mom, I know this is unexpected, but we really needed to come tonight." Her chest tightened, worry pricking at her heart. "Is everything all right?" he assured her with a nod. "Yep, nothing's wrong. It's just that we have something important for you. Something that belonged to Dad." The words hung in the air, delicate yet potent. Laura's breath caught. Michael's name, spoken aloud like this, carried an ache she hadn't realized she still held. Soft and painful, yet strangely comforting. Sophie reached into her bag and pulled out a small leather notebook, worn and familiar. Laura froze, recognizing the edges and the faint scent of well-loved pages. This was Michael's notebook, the one he carried everywhere, the one where his thoughts, sketches, and hidden words were captured. Her voice came out almost in a whisper. Where did you get this?" Sophie hesitated, then said softly, "From him. Years ago, he told me to keep it safe and give it to you when the time was right. I think this is that moment." Laura's hands trembled as they hovered over the cover. A wave of anticipation, fear, and longing coursed through her. "Not yet," a small, instinctive part of her whispered. "Not yet." The quiet ticking of the clock and the softened patter of rain seemed to echo around her, filling the room with expectation. She realized for the first time in a long while that something was waiting. Something far bigger than a simple visit, far deeper than a notebook. Her fingers closed lightly over the leather. She could feel Michael's presence already, in the weight of the notebook, in the faint lines of his handwriting. A story long hidden was about to unfold, and with it, a part of her heart she thought she'd lost forever. And at that moment, Laura didn't know that the story inside would change how she saw Michael, Ryan, Sophie, and even herself, in ways she could never have imagined. The notebook rested in her hands, the room quiet, the rain softening, and the first page waiting to reveal its secrets. Laura sat at the kitchen table, the leather notebook cradled carefully in her hands. The warmth of the tea she had poured steamed gently beside her, but she barely noticed. Her mind was elsewhere, poised between curiosity and caution. Slowly, almost reverently, she opened the first page. Michael's handwriting, familiar and intimate, greeted her like a whisper she hadn't heard in years. To my Laura, if you're reading this, it means time has carried me where you cannot follow. But I wanted to leave you something more than memories. Her breath caught. His words weren't heavy with sorrow. They carried a quiet strength, the reassurance he had always offered. Tears pricked her eyes as she continued, turning each page with careful, trembling fingers. Michael wrote about ordinary things, the way he loved her morning coffee hum, the patience she carried through daily life, the way she found beauty even in mundane days. Then, in softer lines, the words shifted. There's something I never told you, not because I didn't trust you, but because I wanted to protect you from my fear. Laura pressed a hand to her chest, heart aching at the honesty she had never known. He had been carrying pain silently, still giving love and laughter to those around him. She remembered the gentle way he brushed off her worries with a soft laugh. I'm fine, love. Don't fuss. Now she realized the depth of what he had shielded her from. The next pages brought a revelation that made her pause. Michael had not only thought of her, he had thought ahead. One day, a young woman may come to you with this notebook. Her name is Sophie. She's kind. She reminds me of you when you were younger. Quiet strength, hidden behind unsure eyes. If she finds you, it means my wish came true. Laura's eyes shifted to Sophie, standing quietly by the table, her gaze gentle but attentive. A lump formed in Laura's throat. Michael had trusted this stranger, had given her a link to life after loss, a reminder that love could still manifest in unexpected forms. The notebook's next lines deepened the meaning. If Ryan ever looks lost, help him find his way. Remind him that love doesn't disappear. It changes form. Don't close your heart, Laura. Let it stay open to kindness, to laughter, to new beginnings. Laura's hands shook slightly. Each word felt like a pulse, a heartbeat she had not felt in years. She realized then that Michael hadn't written this to reopen wounds. He had written it to guide her toward healing. Sophie, sensing the gravity of the moment, remained silent, allowing Laura the space to absorb every line. Ryan reached over, his hand brushing hers lightly. Mom, he said softly. He really thought of everything. Laura nodded, swallowing hard, feeling the mixture of grief and gratitude fold into her chest. The notebook was more than a gift. It was a bridge, a pathway to connection she hadn't expected to find again. As Laura continued, she found passages that spoke of hope, of life's gentle persistence, and of the enduring power of love. Michael's words painted images of sunrises, laughter, and the warmth of shared moments, ordinary yet profound. Each sentence made her feel his presence, as if he were guiding her hand, guiding her heart. By the time she reached the later pages, Sophie spoke softly, her voice barely above the hum of the kettle. He helped both of us. That was his gift. Laura looked up, her eyes meeting Sophie's, glistening with unshed tears. Ryan smiled gently, sensing the connection between the two women. For a long moment, the three sat in quiet reflection, the room filled with the soft resonance of understanding, forgiveness, and love. Finally, Laura closed the notebook for a moment, resting it against her chest. The storm outside had softened, the drizzle giving way to calm. The words lingered in the air like sunlight breaking through clouds, illuminating the corners of her heart that had been shadowed for so long. She felt a shift within, subtle yet undeniable, a fragile hope that had been waiting for this very moment. She looked at Sophie and Ryan. He really thought of everything, Laura whispered, a smile trembling on her lips. Ryan nodded, his own expression soft. The presence of Sophie, the legacy of Michael's words, and the connection they all shared seemed to form a delicate thread of continuity, binding past and present together. And yet, even with the warmth of understanding surrounding her, Laura couldn't shake the flutter of curiosity and anticipation. What else had Michael wanted her to know? What final truths lay hidden in the pages she hadn't yet read? She lifted the notebook once more, fingers trembling, and turned the page. A new section awaited, one that promised revelations about love, life, and the unexpected ways it returned to those who dared to remain open to it. Laura's breath caught, her heart poised on the brink of discovery. The afternoon sunlight filtered through the window, warming Laura's hands as she held the notebook. Michael's words seemed alive on the page, each line carrying his voice, his presence, as if he were sitting beside her. Sophie poured herself a cup of tea quietly, settling into the moment without interrupting the fragile rhythm between mother, son, and memory. Sophie finally spoke, her voice soft, careful, yet confident. "Laura, there's something I want you to know about why I came tonight." Laura looked up, curiosity mingling with lingering caution. "I was lost when I first met Michael," Sophie began. "New city, no family, barely holding myself together." He noticed. "He never treated me like just another person passing through his life. He cared, and he believed that everyone crosses our path for a reason." Laura felt her chest tighten at the familiar echo of Michael's words. "He always believed people meet for a reason," she whispered. Sophie nodded, her eyes glistening. "He once told me I'd meet someone who'd remind me what hope looks like. I didn't understand then, but now I do. It was you." Laura blinked back sudden tears. The warmth in Sophie's voice was steady and yet fragile, layered with emotion. "You've been through so much, Laura," Sophie continued, "and yet you carry grace. Seeing you love, seeing how you remember him, it made me believe that love doesn't die. It just changes shape." Ryan reached across the table, brushing his mother's hand with quiet reassurance. "Mom, he was right about you," he said softly. "Even when things are hard, you make people feel at home. You've always been hope." Laura smiled, tears spilling over but a lightness in her chest answering them. "I learned from the best," she whispered, glancing at Ryan. Then Sophie. The notebook opened to a page she had not seen before. The ink faded, but Michael's handwriting unmistakable. "Laura, if you ever feel alone, know that I am still with you. In the kindness that finds you. In the courage you show when life feels too heavy." She traced the words with trembling fingers, feeling the invisible tether of his love stretching across time and space. Sophie's voice softened. "Michael helped me more than I can ever repay. Part of me came tonight not just to give you the notebook, but to finally say goodbye to that part of my life. I think he wanted me to find closure, too." Ryan nodded, understanding shining in his eyes. "And you did," he said simply. A long pause settled over the kitchen, filled not with sorrow but with gratitude. Silence became a vessel, carrying the weight of healing, shared memories, and quiet joy. Laura leaned back, holding the notebook against her chest. She realized that Michael had not left her alone. He had left guidance, love, and a path back to life. Later, they decided to take a walk near the small lake behind the house. The sun shimmered on the water, reflecting gold across the trees. Laura hadn't returned here since Michael's passing. Every visit had been too painful, but today, the ache had softened into something gentle, something open to the possibility of peace. Sophie picked a wildflower and handed it to Laura. "He'd want you to keep this place alive," she said. Laura nodded, eyes glistening. "He would," she replied softly. They reached the old bench by the water where Michael used to sketch. Laura ran her hand over the smooth, worn wood. "He always said this was the best place to think." Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe it still is. They sat together, the breeze rustling the trees, the faint sound of birds settling nearby. Laura closed her eyes, imagining Michael's soft, warm voice carried by the wind. She didn't need to see him to feel him. He was in the light, in the laughter, in the quiet presence of her son and Sophie. As they returned to the house, the afternoon sun dipping lower, Sophie stood by the door. "I should head back," she said quietly, bag in hand. Laura hugged her tightly, a deep, sincere embrace. "Thank you for coming," Laura whispered, "for keeping his promise, and for reminding me that love never really leaves." Sophie shook her head, eyes glistening. "He helped both of us. That was his gift." Ryan walked her to the car, their goodbye warm, yet tinged with the promise of new beginnings. Laura returned to the house, the notebook once more in her hands, and Ryan quietly joined her. "You okay, Mom?" he asked. She nodded. "More than okay. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm breathing again." Ryan wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "Dad would be proud." Laura leaned against him. "He already is. I can feel it." They stood in silence, watching the sky turn golden with the sunset. The shadows that once felt lonely now held memories, warmth, and the quiet promise of life continuing forward. That night, as Laura opened the notebook one final time, a faint, handwritten note at the bottom of the last page waited, words she hadn't yet seen. And in those words, her heart would find both an ending and a beginning she could never have anticipated. Laura sat alone in the living room that night, the rain tapping softly against the windows. The house, once heavy with silence, now felt tenderly alive. The notebook rested on her lap, and she turned to the final page, her fingers trembling. There, faintly written at the bottom, was a note she had never seen before. Michael's handwriting, fragile yet unmistakable, seemed to glow in the soft lamplight. "If you've come this far, Laura, then you're already where I hoped you'd be. Don't look back with sorrow. Look forward with love. I'll meet you again. Not in the past, but in every smile you share, in every sunrise you welcome. My story ended, but yours is still being written. Live it fully." Her chest tightened, tears streaming freely now, but a warmth filled the ache that had been there for so long. Michael's words were not just a farewell, they were an invitation. An urging to live again, to embrace the beauty of life, and to trust that love had many forms. Later, the house smelled faintly of chamomile and rain, the lingering aroma comforting. Ryan had gone back to his apartment in Denver, but Sophie remained a quiet presence, sitting with Laura on the porch. The sky was painted with gold and pink, the remnants of sunset reflecting the calm that had settled over their hearts. "You know," Laura said softly, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "Michael always said the world is full of little signs if you pay attention. I think you were one of them." Sophie smiled, a gentle, warm expression that mirrored the peace Laura felt. "Maybe he was right. Maybe we all find each other when we're meant to." Laura reached over, squeezing Sophie's hand. "Thank you for bringing him back to me, even for a moment." Sophie shook her head, her eyes glistening. "He never really left you." The three of them, Laura, Ryan, and Sophie, had come to understand the quiet truth, that love does not vanish, it transforms. It moves through the people it touches, leaving echoes of grace, hope, and connection. Laura realized that the house, once shadowed with absence, now hummed with warmth, laughter, memories, and the gentle rhythm of new beginnings. That night, after Ryan went to bed, Laura placed the notebook on her bedside table, the candle flickering beside it. She whispered softly into the quiet, "I kept my promise, Michael. My heart is still open." She felt a serene contentment, a deep, grounding peace she hadn't known since his passing. The notebook wasn't just paper and ink. It was a bridge, a guide, and a reminder that life carries on beautifully when hearts remain open. The rain had softened to a gentle drizzle, and the night was calm. Laura leaned back against her pillow, eyes tracing the patterns of the shadows, now gentle and soft, no longer lonely. Every sound of the wind, every rustle of the leaves, seemed infused with the memory of Michael's love, transformed into living, breathing connections with those around her. In the days that followed, Laura found herself moving with a renewed lightness. The garden called for attention, the aroma of wet earth and blooming roses mingling with the fresh hope in her heart. Ryan and Sophie stayed to help, laughter flowing easily, the comfort of shared work strengthening the bond that Michael had nurtured from beyond. Laura felt, for the first time in years, that she could breathe fully. She could laugh without guilt, love without fear, and embrace life with an open heart. Michael's legacy had found its way into the present, reshaping her understanding of love and loss. And in that transformation, she discovered not emptiness, but abundance. Abundance of memory, of grace, and of new beginnings waiting to be written. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, Laura, Sophie, and Ryan sat on the porch once more. The soft glow of twilight wrapped around them, and Laura's gaze rose to the sky, a gentle wind brushing her face. She realized that Michael's love was everywhere, in the people beside her, in the echoes of laughter, in the golden light of a fading day. With the notebook placed carefully on the shelf beside a framed photo of Laura and Michael, their hands intertwined under the same golden light that now filled the room, she whispered once more, "I will live it fully. I promise." And in that promise, the past and present intertwined. Love reshaped itself, and Laura felt complete, no longer tethered solely to memory, but fully alive in the warmth, hope, and connection Michael had left behind. Life continues. Love transforms, and every ending carries a new beginning. Embrace it. For those who open their hearts find that love never truly leaves.